Hello everybody, today we're going to do an updated 2024 governor's prediction for December. The last time I did this was about 5 months ago. Not a lot has changed because it's so early, but let's take a look at where things are at. There are 11 states having elections next year for governor, and we're going to start with the safe states. These are the ones that I expect to be over 10-point margins. First for the Democrats, we've got Delaware. Now this is a blue state, but it doesn't mean they can't elect a Republican. However, the last time they did that was 1988. It hasn't even really been close. The last time it was under a 10-point margin. That was back in 2004. Now it is an open seat as John Carney is term limited out, but Democrats have a bench, Republicans have nobody. It's not impossible somebody emerges. There's just nothing on the radar right now for the GOP in Delaware. Now the safe states for the Republicans. We've got Utah. Incumbent Republican Spencer Cox, I think his bigger danger would be in a Republican primary. I don't think that's going to be a challenge for him, and the general election should be a landslide. Next, we've got North Dakota, and now that there are term limits for governor in this state, it's technically an open seat unless Doug Burgum decides to run for one last third term. If he does, I would expect him to get it. If he doesn't, this is kind of the opposite of Delaware. There's just no bench here for the Democrats, and it would be highly unexpected that the Republicans end their streak of winning the governor here in North Dakota. Next, West Virginia. That is going to be an open seat, and it wasn't that long ago Democrats were dominant in this state, but not anymore, and even though the Republicans might have a competitive primary, it's tough right now to see this not being solid red. Now let's go down to the likely states. The Democrats, they have one. That is Washington. Three-term incumbent Democrat Jay Inslee is not going to run for a fourth term. So that means it's an open seat. And yes, this is a blue state. It's been a while since they've elected a Republican governor. There's been some close ones over the years, but sometimes voters want to change. And they usually like to balance it out on the top of the ticket with governor. Now it's early, but right now it looks like the Democrats have Bob Ferguson shaping up to be their nominee. He is the current attorney general. Republicans have Dave Reichert. He's a former U.S. rep, probably a reasonably strong candidate. They have a top two primary system there. In a general election, the Democrat is certainly going to be favored, but you have to be open to the possibility of something happening here. Under the right circumstances, in a favorable environment, I could see Reichert, the Republican, at least making it close. So that's why this is likely and not safe. Now, the likely states for the Republicans, we start in Montana, and the only reason this is not safe is because incumbent Republican Greg Gianforte has not officially declared his intent to run for a second term. He does have a primary challenger already declared, and I would expect him to run again, but you never know what's happening behind the scenes. If it is Gianforte, then I would move this to safe. If it's not Gianforte, then we're going to have to see what happens. Next, we've got Missouri. Now, this is just under a safe margin for me. I previously did have it at safe, but it is an open seat, and when it's an open seat, I usually like to have a lot more caution, and right now the front runner for the Republicans looks like it's going to be Jay Ashcroft. That last name is powerful in Missouri. He does have to get through a primary. For the Democrats, they have a thin bench here. They've got a state rep running, Crystal Quaid. There's a remote chance somehow this heats up. I understand putting it at safe. If it's Ashcroft, it's probably going to happen, but I'm going to just keep this right at likely until we get more into the race. And the next state is going to be Indiana. That is also just under a safe margin for me, but it's also an open seat. Incumbent U.S. Senator Republican Mike Braun, he is running for governor. It seems like he's the favorite. However, there is a primary he has to get through, and it might not be a complete cakewalk for him. Now, the Democrats have very little going on their side. You got to have a little bit of caution here that it could get into single digits. In 2012, when Mike Pence won that open seat, he only won by 3 points. 4 years later, on another open seat, when incumbent governor Eric Holcomb first won, he won by about 6 points. So this could easily be 15 or 20 points for the Republican, but given the dynamics, I'm going to keep it at likely for now. And the last state is going to be Vermont. This is another likely state for the Republicans. Republican Phil Scott, we don't know if he's going to run for another term. If he does, then I think this would be safe. If he doesn't, then this is an immediate toss-up and easily could flip toward the Democrats. Phil Scott is extremely popular. He's a liberal Republican. The state is very blue and progressive. You'd think they want the same thing at the top of the ticket, but as I said, sometimes voters want a little bit of balance at the top. Phil Scott might not be as far to the left as the state legislator, so it all depends on Scott's decision. That's why I'm going to keep it at likely. So we've got 2 states left. New Hampshire and North Carolina. Let's start in New Hampshire. I previously had this at likely Republican, but now that we know Chris Sununu is not going to run for re-election, it's an immediate toss-up. Looks like right now it's going to be former U.S. Senator Kelly Ayotte for the Republicans. Democrats have a primary to get through. There's been a couple of polls, shows Ayotte ahead, so this is another wait-and-see kind of situation, but I try not to do toss-ups, so for right now I'm going to put this at tilt Republican. Last state, it's North Carolina. This is going to be the marquee race to watch. It's an open open seat, and there's currently Roy Cooper, the Democrat, but the state legislator is overwhelmingly Republican, so there's a lot on the line in this election. Now, both sides do have to get through a primary, but the frontrunner right now looks like Josh Stein, the current Attorney General for the Democrats, and Mark Robinson, the current Lieutenant Governor for the Republicans. So I wouldn't completely ignore those primaries. Those are the two big names, but they're not going up against purely token opposition. So I'm going to assume it's those two in the general election. Now, in that election, then this is a complete toss-up. Now, if you've been following this race, you probably know a little bit about Mark Robinson. He is considered controversial, and I'm sure the Democrats have a lot of things lined up to use against him in that election. Robinson is very blunt. He supports Trump. If he can get past the controversies, then there could be enough excitement for him to win. I assume Josh Stein is going to try to just look like he's not crazy and hope that carries him over the top like we've seen in some other states. So it's too early to really have any confidence here. It definitely could go either way. We'll see what the environment is like. But right now, if I'm not going to make it a toss-up, I'm going to leave this as a tilt for the Democrats. So there's your final map. We've got 8 Republicans, 3 Democrats, and no seats actually flipped to the other party. Both sides do have a reasonable target. Democrats have New Hampshire, Republicans have North Carolina. Those aren't completely insignificant states, but I'm sure Republicans would trade New Hampshire for North Carolina. The rest of these states, not looking like they're going to be competitive. We're still waiting on some governors to decide if they're going to run again, and maybe something crazy happens in Washington or Indiana. But I'm going to leave it there for now. So let me know in the comments. What do you think about this map? Are you as cautious as I am, or do you have more of these states at a safe margin? And what about the 2 most competitive states, New Hampshire and North Carolina? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.